As an athlete in a career, there will be always up and downs. And I think I faced it a lot when I was younger, when I was a teenager. So many times, every week almost, I wanted to stop racing. But in the end, I was always looking at what mountain biking was bringing to my life. I always try to see the bigger picture and say, okay, this is difficult right now, but it does not mean it's gonna be all the time so difficult to just handle everything.
Joining us in the studio today is a self-proclaimed tiny enduro mountain bike rider. Some might say she's a unicorn in the sport. She's a two-time EWS champ, a two-time Trophy of Nations champ, a two-time French champ, and has stacked up 18 EWS victories and over 40 spots on the EWS podium. Please welcome Isabeau Courdurier. Hello, Isabeau.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Isabeau, where are you calling in from in the world?
I'm calling from the very south of France, where I was born, where I was raised, and where I'm currently living. And
wow.
A pretty good place to ride bikes.
Fantastic. That's funny. My first question was going to be, where were you born? So we've already got that one out of the way.
Yeah, I'm a pure product of the south, like we say in French.
Are you living? You're not living with your family still. You're out on your own, but in the same town, right?
Almost the same town, very close, and it's where I feel like I can get the most out of my passion for mountain biking, since the weather is pretty nice all year long. And yeah, I definitely want to stay somewhere around there.
Yeah, nice, beautiful. I love the south of France area. Isabeau, tell me, when you were growing up, did your parents work, and what did they do?
So both of my parents were working. My mom was working into the medical industry, and my dad's job was to monitor the earthquakes and stuff like that for a very big mining company. So very interesting job, and I got to go to work with him some days in the week and get to see what he was doing. So it was pretty amazing to have the chance to grow up with a parent with who you could go to work some days. It was pretty interesting for me.
Interesting. Wow. What a fascinating career. Tell me, when you were little, what kind of activities or sports were you into as a very young child?
Everything that I could do. I was really all the time full on. I really needed to do some sports, to get out, to just run, to get rid of my energy. So I was doing basically everything I could. And then I got into mountain biking thanks to my brother when I was quite young. I was 5 years old. And from the very first day, it was, okay, this is it. And it was also a pretty good way for me to kind of express this energy. I could just ride my bike for hours around the house. And yeah, it was a pretty good way for me to relieve all the energy I had as a kid.
Cool. Your brother was into biking, and so he turned you on to mountain biking. Was he competitive at all, or just an enthusiast?
No, he was competitive at the time. Basically, we were going to watch him on the races, the local one around the house, and I was going there with my parents first to see him. And I was, this is pretty awesome. I'd like to try. And I was only 5 years old, so they were doing basically like a little kids race. And so my parents signed me up for the next one. And it was absolutely my best experience ever. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. And from that, I was racing every weekend with my brother. And then the year after, I joined the local club, and it was it.
Wow. And what does your brother do today?
He's a physiotherapist. So he has a lot of work with me. And it's pretty amazing to have one very close member of my family that is able to follow my career as well. And it's a very big support for me.
That's great. Yeah. Does he work on other members of the team, or are you the only person on the team that he works on?
I am the only lucky one because he's working very close to where I live. And but for sure, I think it'll be interesting for him one day to be able to join a team and get the chance to treat different people that are into biking as well.
Who's faster on the bike, you or him?
I think now it's me. Maybe in the time he had his chance, but I think now, yeah, it's. But we still go out sometimes on the bike, and I'm always impressed because he definitely gets some skills.
Yeah, he still got it.
Mm-mm.
Isabeau, when you were little, so you discovered cycling pretty young and you were super into it, but were there other things that you thought you might do as a career when you were older?
I was a bit the kid that, like every single week changes his mind about what he wants to do next. So it was very difficult to find some studies that I could do, for example, and that were broad enough to allow me to then choose what I was going to do. But I definitely first wanted to be a veterinarian, then I wanted to be a doctor, and all kind of jobs. But I ended up thinking that I was going to do some commercial studies. So it was a broad topic. And I finally ended up doing management and then marketing, which was pretty much what I was liking the most.
Nice, nice. Well, hey, when you ever give up the mountain bike racing career, we got a pretty cool marketing department, as you know. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, I love marketing because it's always evolving. There is always something new to learn. And I think it's pretty exciting to work on very different projects all of the time.
Yeah, yeah. When you were growing up, did you and your family take vacations where you would be active and riding together? What type of vacations did you guys take?
Definitely some sport vacation. We were doing stuff all the time. I was lucky enough to be able to travel with my parents in France most of the time, but we were always going next to the sea for the summer vacation, and I was able to do all type of nautical activities and sports. And so every single time it was about being active and being outside mostly. So I had the chance to spend a lot of time outside as a kid in the nature, next to the sea, the mountains. And ski was a very big thing for us as well. We were going to ski in the winter all of the time. And my dad was a very, very good skier. So I get to take what I was learning with him on the skis back to the bike. And I think it was very important for me to grow up with this because I think skis and mountain biking is pretty much the same. So it was very good for me.
Was there ever a moment where you thought maybe you would go down the ski racer path?
I was thinking about it a lot as a kid because ski is fantastic and I really like the competitive aspect of it. But definitely, I think living in south of France, it was quite not possible logistically to do it. And mountain biking at that time was already a big thing for me. I was really into competitions and I was doing the local trophy around my place. And I was already so deep into competing on a mountain bike that I was, okay, I will never be able to have the same level I have on the bike, on the skis. So maybe it's what took me off.
Nice, nice. Okay. Well, the next subject of our podcast is called the sprint section. It's where I throw a bunch of this or that at you, and you tell me what your personal preference is for one thing over the other. Sort of our way to get a little psychological profile of your preferences. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. And then we're going to talk about your career, and then we'll go down some other rabbit holes. So starting out, pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Beer or wine?
It's difficult to ask this to a French, but I have to say wine then.
Perfect, perfect. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Same. Tacos or burritos?
Tacos.
Spicy or mild?
Mile.
Cold weather or hot weather?
Hot weather, of course.
Yeah. Rain or snow?
Snow.
The mountains or the beach?
The mountains.
Big cities or quiet suburbs?
Depends. I like big city to explore on a weekend, but to live suburb, quite suburb for sure.
Yeah. Cars or trucks?
Cars.
Pavement or dirt?
Dirt.
Yes. Gloves
Loam.
or gloveless? Yeah, loam.
Gloves all the time.
All the time. Clipped in or flat pedals?
Clipped.
Low pressure in your tires or high pressure in your tires?
Low pressure.
Yeah, I know you're a big Tire Whiz fan too, right?
I am, and I'm quite small, so I can go very low.
Yeah, yeah. What about fix it yourself or take it to a mechanic?
If I say I'm fix it myself, my mechanic will probably say it's not true, so I'll probably bring it to the mechanic.
Yeah. And last one, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Now
my cat is looking at me. I have both, so, but I'll say dogs first for sure all the time.
You have a dog and a cat under one roof.
And a bunny, yeah, under one roof.
And a bunny. But the bunny's in a cage, right?
Not all the time. No, he's
Oh, really?
He's a free roam bunny.
Oh, that's cool. And your dog, you said, is sleeping at your feet right now?
Yeah,
snoring?
right now she's just next to me snoring.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have an hunting dog, a pointer. I'm not sure for the English word.
Yeah, pointer. What's its name?
She's named Oakley.
Oakley,
with
like
the French
glasses?
accent. Yes, with the French accent, it is Oakley. But yeah.
That's great. All right, let's transition to your career. So we call this section the climb. So your brother introduces you to mountain biking. It becomes a massive passion in your life. At what point did that hobby turn into a career?
I'm not sure about what point, but for sure I had one time when I decided to focus my energy and also choose my studies to allow me to ride my bike. So for me, it's quite the turning point where I was, okay, maybe I'm trying to follow a path into mountain biking. And that's definitely around 2014 when I had the chance to enter my first very big team, thanks to Fred Glow at the time, which is basically for us a pioneer of enduro in France. And so, yeah, that's the point where I decided, okay, maybe I'm trying to follow this way because I could see I was not so bad in enduro and I could, find a place for myself and actually enjoy doing it as not a hobby anymore, but turning it into a job. So that was a turning point for me.
Great. So 2014 is the turning point where you establish yourself as wanting to be a professional bike racer. You start to see some success, and then was there a particular moment where you felt really confident that this was for you and that this was going to be a long-term thing?
I'm not sure I realized at one point it was going to be a long-term project or career because I'm pretty much always focusing on what I can do now, not trying to see the bigger picture. But I think I realized I was liking what I was doing when it became my number one job, when my studies were done and I had only to focus on riding a bike. And that's when I realized I was quite good at it and that I could kind of step my game up and up. And I'm still like that at the moment. I always think there are opportunities to grow up as an athlete and to always get better. And I think that's really the thing that got me into enduro.
Yeah. During that time, were there heroes of the sport or athletes that you looked up to, that you were sort of following or potentially trying to mimic their career or their moves, or who did you look up to?
I've always been looking to a lot of different athletes, not only into mountain biking, a lot in the ski, because like I said, it was a very big part for me. So Lindsey Vonn was she's still one of my idols. And more specifically into mountain biking, Anne-Caroline Chausson was for me the very big model as a kid, even if I was racing cross country when I was younger. But I was very inspired by what she was doing. And I was lucky enough to start racing enduro when she was still racing. And she kind of took me and basically taught me a lot of things. And I was very lucky to be racing with my idol and also benefit from her experience. So yeah, if I had to choose one person that was very like my idol for me at the time, I'll say Anne-Caroline.
Yeah, I mean, she made a huge impression in the bike industry. Do you stay close with Anne-Caro today?
We are still seeing each other a few times a year on some events, or she's not living too far from me, so I get to see her at home as well.
Nice. Do you guys ride together privately?
No, I'm not, and I think it's actually a good idea to do so. I'm not sure I will... I think I will still be like a kid, like when you are riding with your idol. I mean, she's still my idol, so I still be like, "Oh, Anne-Caro, can I follow?"
Yeah, that's cool. So then, Isabeau, tell us more about the growth of your career. So you start to see some success. You were already established with a team. What was the next team that you moved to, and how did that happen?
So I basically raced 2 years for Rocky Mountains bicycle. It was kind of the start for me on the Enduro World Series scene. I've learned a lot at that time. And then I moved on to my first pro contract with Sun. And it was a very big project with this French brand. And then we completely changed the way we were doing it. And we created our own team with two other people, Kylian Bron and Cédric Carrez. And then I joined Lapierre. We basically joined forces with them, with our own existing team. And I joined the existing one from Lapierre. And I think for me, it was really the opportunity to benefit from their knowledge on the technical aspect. I think everyone know how Nicolas Vouilloz is really the master behind tuning bikes and finding the absolutely perfect setup. So I was really happy to start working with them, and I could clearly see a difference.
Yeah. So there was a point in time where you were riding on Intense. Was that before Sun?
It was just after Sun when we created our own team. Intense was our main support, and we've done 2 years with them.
Got it. And then Lapierre.
And then Lapierre for 3 years now, and I'm looking to extend it in the next year.
Yeah, as so are we. We would love to keep this party together.
Yeah, I think there are still very great things to do, and I'm still always wanting to improve. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what I can do this winter to get better on the bike.
Yeah. Isabeau, the numbers are staggering, over 40 spots on the EWS podium. I mean, that's incredible. In such a short period of time, was there ever a time where you thought you wanted to quit?
So many times. I think it's something we don't speak enough about. But I think as an athlete in a career, it's very difficult to have a consistency over the time. There will be always up and downs every single time. And I think I faced it a lot when I was younger, when I was a teenager. So many times, every week almost, I wanted to stop racing. But in the end, I was always looking at what mountain biking was bringing to my life and kind of balancing the positive and negative aspect. And the positive ones were always winning. And I think this is what kept me going through the years so many times after injury or after setbacks. I always try to see the bigger picture and say, okay, this is difficult right now, but it does not mean it's gonna be all the time so difficult to just like handle everything. So keep going. And I basically always try to install this strategy when it's a rough time, let's say. Just keep going, focus on what you can control, and everything will follow.
Nice, nice. Is there anything about the cycling industry, and maybe more specifically the race community, that you would change? You know, we're going to see a lot of change next year, right? With the shift from Red Bull to Discovery. Is there something that you would like to see different about the way racing is managed?
I think in enduro, it's quite different to all the other disciplines. And I truly say there is a community spirit that is very strong, especially in the women field. At the very early years of the Enduro World Series, it was kind of a group of girls racing, competing together, but trying to make our own marks and place into this world, let's say. And so we've been really pushing each other to reach our best level. And we've keep doing this over the years. And now if you come to an enduro race, just before a stage, you will see all the girls right together, speaking about what's coming, how we can manage it. So there is really such a good spirit. And I think it's also what helps us to keep bringing the level up and up each year. So I will not change anything. My only thing will be to try to find a way to make racing more open to beginners. Because I know, for example, in Enduro, it's quite tough to begin on an Enduro World Series. So there is some kind of format that allow you. But I would love to see a series really focusing on privateer and trying to help them kind of transition to a professional career. And I think there is really a way now, especially since enduro racers are younger and younger. Now you can see teenagers that have been only doing enduro, which was not the case before. We were all coming from cross-country, downhill, different backgrounds. So I think there would be really something to do with, let's say, kids, young adults, and people that really want just to try enduro at first.
Yeah. Did you ever think that you would try a different discipline like downhill or cross country?
So I've started racing cross country until I was 17. I only did one World Cup at that time. And so it was still a great way to see a bit what it is. And then switching to enduro. And I've done my first, I've tried my first World Cup in downhill last season. I've been racing in Lourdes. I crashed in quali because I was just too excited and could not calm down. So I was on fire all the way down and could not control myself. So I went off track basically because I just was like, wow, this is so exciting. And I was just not braking enough, obviously. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to do more. I think next year I'll try to do one round as well. I think there is really something interesting in between crossing disciplines. And I think also for riders coming from cross country, they will for sure benefit to do some enduro races. There is always some aspect you can take and bring into your sport.
Yeah. So World Championships in 2023 is in Glasgow. And so of course you'll do the EWS there, or the enduro race, whatever they end up calling it. Could you see yourself competing in another aspect of the sport at Worlds, or just enduro?
No, I will for sure focus on enduro first because I don't think you can be very competitive if you kind of try to do a bit of everything. And then because I don't have the skills yet for sure to compete in downhill, I think it's two different sports, and I've learned a lot in Lourdes. It's completely mental, the aspect you have to put into it, the focus, and also the willingness to really let out of everything and just go. So I will definitely not be ready to race at Worlds, but for sure I'd like to do one more World Cup to benefit from this experience and get more knowledge.
Yeah, cool. I've seen on your Instagram and on social media that occasionally you actually hop on a road bike. Do you train on the road, or what do you do off the bike to train?
I train on the road bike a lot. I spent most of my winter on the road bike. Then I'm doing a bit of BMX, but I have to say I'm not so good at it. I'm like still having my cross-country background just here, you know, when you don't jump, you stay in contact with the ground. So BMX was obviously a bit difficult for me at the beginning. And then I'm doing a lot of musculation and kind of or what you can do to prepare your body outside of racing a bike.
Yeah. There's a cool video online of you and a couple of your teammates with LaPierre that are in a skate park doing some BMX fun. You remember this one?
Yeah. It was our video at the beginning of the season. And it's quite a funny one if everyone wants to see my dance moves. It's where you can go.
It's quite colorful. You have quite the colorful outfits as well.
Yeah, they were very keen to show one aspect of my personality, which is I'm obsessed with vintage clothing, and that's what I'm doing outside of racing a bike, like what I like to do when I'm on a rest day, let's say. So I like to go to thrift shops and find some very powerful pieces of clothing that have an history behind. And yeah, so it was kind of a way to to show this.
Isabeau, if you're on a trainer at a race warming up and you're listening to music, what kind of music are you listening to?
It'll be pretty mixed, but I'm definitely into old school metal. So I will definitely put some songs like that to turn me on. And I will always finish with something like disco or, you know, like something where you can feel your start to dance a bit. And I have one very key song for me that I'm listening to get in the zone. And normally when I put my headphones on with this song, no one can talk to me. I'm really out of this world and already on the stage. So, yeah.
Cool. I'm not going to ask you what song it is. Not on this podcast, but maybe privately.
It's The Chain, and then everyone can go out and see.
Got it. Cool. Well, let's move over to close calls, because I know you've had a couple, and notably one recently. But before we get to the stick in the foot one, what kind of like physical challenges have you had in your racing career?
I've been lucky enough not to injure myself too much, but I think it's also because I'm quite in a control all of the time. I'm never like outside of my comfort zone, so which can also sometimes be a problem. But most of the time I'm racing into my comfort zone, so I'm quite lucky I did not have some very big crashes, just like broken elbow, some basic stuff that I think every athlete will go through his career. And so nothing crazy, just a lot of tendinitis. I'm not sure for the English. Yeah, I've been a lot suffering from this. But other than that, the stick in the foot was my first massive injury.
Tell us about that. I mean, that is such a crazy story. So for our listeners, what happened?
I was racing the Enduro World Series in Valberg, and basically did nothing crazy. I was just racing for fun there. And I was riding down, and there was a long branch, about 1 meter and 50 on the ground. And I'm not exactly sure how, but I, with my front wheel, went on the branch, lifted it, and then I basically impaled myself on the branch with the upper part of my foot, and it went entirely through my foot, but I did not even crash. I was still clipped in and just laid down, and the branch cracked, which I was lucky because otherwise I would have to come with a saw, and they did still add to make it a bit smaller to use a saw to reduce the stick. But I was not like, let's say, stuck on it. I had it in my foot and I could move. And I was just not lucky at all because honestly, even with like security issues, the place, the way and the impact it will have go through. So it's like, I'm not sure over 1 million what are the chances, but I'm pretty sure they are low.
It's probably 1,000,000,000 to 1. I mean, you were clipped in, and it found its way through the pedal.
It
through
went
your
from
shoe.
above. It went from
Oh, it
above.
went from above.
Yeah.
Wow. That is an incredible story. And so obviously you had to stop riding for a while. How long did it take to recover, and what was the recovery process like?
So I basically was very lucky because the stick, even though it was massive, went in between the bones and the tendons. So it basically touched nothing, just nerves and tissues. But I had the big scars, obviously, under my foot and above. So it was the most painful part. The first week was insane in terms of pain. I was passing out in the morning. And then it got a bit better and quite quickly. So I was very surprised, but I'll say I've been able to walk 2 weeks, and walking is a big word, to stand on both of my foot 2 weeks after. And then 3 weeks later, I was trying to ride my road bike. And I have to say it was 1 week before we left for Canada, and I was just crying, thinking there was no way I could race in Canada, and I thought my season was done at this point. Yep. And we just say, okay, let's just go there, let's go to Whistler, and you'll see, maybe you are able, maybe you're not. So I went there, but I was absolutely sure there was no way, seeing the pain I had just before leaving. And in Whistler, I was really doing the mental work. I have a mental coach, and before Whistler we prepared to the strategy we will do there so I could ride with less pain. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is when the mental is taking over. And I was able to use all the technique he taught me to be able to ride. And I've been riding my mountain bike there just a few days before the race. And then it was pretty quick. So just 1 month later, I was on the starting line in Whistler for the Enduro World Series. And it was pretty insane all the day in terms of pain, and having to really all the time thinking, no, this is okay. You can do it. You can manage. A lot of ups and downs. But I was able to finish 4th there, which is honestly my best performance of the year.
That's incredible. Isabeau, you mentioned the mental coach. I'm curious about your support staff. You know, I think about things like physio and mental and nutrition. Can you tell us what does your team support look like? Right, you've got a mechanic. Explain all the different types of people that are helping you.
I have a very close circle of people that are working with me, and since quite a long time now. So I have my mental coach, like we've just said. I have my physical coach. I have my osteopath. I have the physiotherapist, which is my brother. I have another physiotherapist, which is a very close friend, and she is our physio on the race. I have my mechanic, and now I have another guy that is taking charge of me for the physical preparation around musculation and stuff like that. So it's already almost 10 people. And it's quite a big staff beyond such a tiny rider.
What about nutrition and hydration?
It's the thing I'm working on right now, and it's the first winter I will make the shift to working with someone that will help me on this, because I think it's something I can improve on definitely. I'm not very good at eating and drinking enough on race day. I can go almost through the race without eating. So don't do this at home. It's obviously not the right way to do, so I know I can definitely improve.
I have heard on the nutrition side of things, I have heard there is a little chocolate covered snack that you love the
Yeah, it's
most.
the only thing I'm running on. So no, I'm joking, but on race days, the only thing I'm able to eat is some sugar, chocolate stuff like that, and it's what keep me growing. And also,
Yeah.
I'm drinking a lot of isotonic and electrolyte
Yeah.
stuff to just be able to, yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Back on the chocolate snack. So is it Snickers? Is that the one?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Snickers is a pretty great,
I have to
it's a pretty great
say
candy
it
bar.
saved a lot of race.
Yeah. I mean, it has everything, right? It's got the salt, it's got the sugar, it's got the, the nuts, the protein. It's got everything.
I think we can sell it this way to a nutritionist, but I'm not sure they will agree 100%. But I
Yeah.
think in enduro, it's so long. Like you're out for 5 hours, and at one point, it's basically like people that do ultra endurance stuff. You need comfort food, and for me, comfort food is quite close to a sneaker.
That's great. That's great. All right, changing gears to the cool down portion of the show. So I know from our research and talking together that you do some great things also off the bike. You've had an incredible career, and you're going to continue to have an incredible career on the bike, but you do a lot of cool things off the bike too. Um, the one I'd like to learn more about is your coaching. Tell us about the coaching that you do.
So I've always wanted to kind of give back to what mountain biking brought to my life. So for me, coaching was kind of an easy way to do so because you can basically transmit your passion to people. And I wanted to first get an experience with people that do not even know about mountain biking. So I got into an association which are doing domestic violence survivor kind of program to help them
Yeah.
reconstruct and reconnect with their body, with their life, and through sports. So they are doing it into the ski, sailing, and cycling. I'm obviously getting to work into the cycling aspect of it. And so my role is to kind of teach them the very basic of riding a bike and just making sure they are into a safe environment to start riding. And I'm also teaching young kids to ride as well. And I'm trying to develop it more specifically into young women that are racing enduro because it's a very big demand I have. There are so many young girls now that are not racing cross country, not racing downhill. They are like around 10 and already doing enduro. And I think it's something very interesting to help them grow into a future enduro racer.
Yeah, that's great. Do you find that the people that you coach, whether it's through the domestic violence program or just young girls that are interested in cycling, do you find that they are looking up to you as a hero, as a a superstar?
I'm always really trying to be close, to be a friend. I never want them to, like kind of look up as I'm someone doing something crazy. I'm not. I was just like them. I was even worse on the bike at that time than they are. So I just want them to
Yeah.
feel comfortable with me and to, really be able to express their full potential without thinking, oh, I don't want to show how I ride to Isabeau because she's racing or whatever. So I always try to keep it very simple, and I think they can feel it. So they are not looking at me like I am some kind of something I'm not. So yeah.
That's amazing. Well, that's really special, Isabeau. I want to thank you for your commitment to those opportunities for people. It's so incredible to have someone like you to inspire them, to teach them, and really exciting.
It's actually sometimes the opposite. People think they could, but I benefit from doing this as well, because seeing the way they look at mountain biking through their eyes, it's always so humbling. We are sometimes so focused on racing, performance, and getting better, faster, whatsoever, that we tend to forget a bit that racing and riding mountain bike is fun, and they all the time bring this back to me, and I'm thankful for that to them.
That's great. Great. So it's winter now in both France and Chicago. What are you going to do over the winter or the off season?
I have quite a busy winter because next season we are starting the first Enduro World Series in March, but I'm definitely going to try to focus on some weaknesses I have, which are my jumping skills. And then there are some physical aspects I want to develop to be able to. I'm trying to reach my full potential, and I know there are no limits to what we can do, but it's definitely very interesting to push on some stuff you were not doing before and to see the improvements.
Yeah, great. Well, Isabeau, good luck to you in the off-season training, and I look forward to watching you in 2023. We will put some links to some of these organizations that you're involved in the show notes, in the detail online when this publishes. And I want to wish you the very best and good luck in 2023.
Thank you very much. I'll do my best.
Great. It's great talking to you. Thanks.